பேசுங்க மேடம்.
Very bright good morning to everyone. The Department of Library feels honored in welcoming the August gathering of participants to our national webinar, Free Online Tools for Research, organized by Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College for Women, Madurai. During this pandemic period, all our institutions are remaining closed, including institutional libraries and public libraries. Without libraries, we find ourselves barefoot without books for learning and relaxing. As Plato said, books give a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, and flights to imagination, and life to everything. Considering this gap that has arisen now being partially filled by e-learning, today our distinguished resource person, Dr. K. Ramasamy sir, is going to be a book for all of us and give life to his teachings. Let us all, through this platform, utilize this blended learning, which is the need of the heart. Let us now start the webinar session. I welcome Dr. K. Ravichandran sir, librarian and organizing secretary of this national webinar, to give the welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ravichandran sir.
A very good morning to all the participants. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome our respected principal, Dr. Vanidhi Madam, who motivated and encouraged me to organize such a wonderful webinar. I extend my hearty welcome to the convener and the co-convener, faculty members, library professionals, research scholars, students, and other participants from various disciplines for the webinar on Free Online Tools for Research, organized by Department of Library, Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College for Women, Madurai. I extend my warm welcome to our resource person, Dr. K. Ramasamy, librarian, MV, Muttaya Government Arts College for Women, Tindikal. Sir is an specialist in information handling. He is an expert in the field of ICT applications. Small changes and small steps can create massive impact. I assure that this webinar is meaningful, thought-provoking, and very much useful to all the participants. Once again, I welcome one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravichandran sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
We have a very motivating, inspiring principal madam. Today she is busy with official work, so she has not been able to come live and be along with us. So we are actually going to play a recorded message by our principal madam, the presidential address given by her. Presidential address by Principal Madam Dr. S. Vanati, Principal of Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College for Women. Please wait, her recording will start soon.
Students, staff, and scholars. The great pleasure to be connected with you all in this pandemic period. This national webinar on free online tools for research is need of an hour. The word research itself contains the word search. Searching is the main operation during research. If we fail in search, it will make us to research. Search, sort, analyze, infer, and reproduce are the components involved in research. Time taken for all this process depends on the knowledge we possess to do the proper tools to access data, convert the data to information, and infer the information and gain the knowledge. For all these process, we need some guidance at the early stage. Our resource person, Dr. Ramasamy, librarian, MEM Government Arts College, Dindigul, is a man of archive. He has so many informations and abundant knowledge in this field. He will share a lot of information in a novel approach. I hope this webinar will be a promise.
Madam.
Thank you so much, Principal Ma'am. You have always been inspiring and motivating for all of us. Thank you very much. Now let us have a brief introduction about our distinguished resource person, Dr. K. Ramasamy. Sir. Dr. Ramasamy sir has done MCOM and MLIC and PhD. He did his graduation and post-graduation in commerce from Gandhigram Rural University, Gandhigram, and he has won 3 gold medals in his UG program. Then he did his BLIC and MLIC from Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai. He got university gold rank, second rank in BLIC and MLIC from Madurai Kamaraj University. He served in Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan as librarian in Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu from 1997 to 2014. Presently, he is working as librarian in M.V. Muthaiya Government Arts College for Women, Dindigul. He has 16.5 years of experience as librarian in KVS and 6.5 years of experience as college librarian in government service. Sir has developed 10 academic blogs, including 1 library blog with 40 lakh visitors. He has published 3 books in library and information science. He has published 84 articles in national and international conferences and seminars. Sir has published 69 articles in refereed national and international journals. He has won 7 Best Awards in various LIS conferences. He has contributed 57 book chapters and 57 book chapters in edited books. He has prepared course material for Sri Lankan Open University, the subject being Library and Information Science. Sir has completed a minor research project for ₹1 lakh of Tamil Nadu State Council for Higher Education, Chennai in 2018. Sir has delivered 105 special lectures, invited talks at different venues for different set of audiences. Sir has organized 3 state-level seminars, 1 national webinar and 1 international seminar. He has been the course coordinator for 3 days online course on statistical analysis using SPSS conducted by Maya's research group in May 2020. Sir is also the course coordinator for the 3-day online course on cytometric analysis using open source softwares conducted again by Maya's research group in June 2020. Sir has delivered 10 video lectures and talks in webinars in 2020. He is a review board member of 2 LIS journals and editorial board member of a multidisciplinary journal. He is the associate editor of a conference volume and associate editor of 2 edited books. He is also the editor of 2 books. He has delivered a radio talk in 2007 on National Library Day on Pasumai. He has won the Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan Regional Incentive Award from KVS Regional Office, Chennai in 2012. Sir has cleared JRF 2 times, and he has cleared UGC NET exam 6 times, and he has cleared SLET exam, that is Slate Level Eligibility Test, 1 time. That is very, very commendable. Sir is a member of Board of Studies in 2 colleges, and his area of interest includes blogs, institutional repositories, metric studies, user studies, and open source softwares. I now welcome Dr. K. Ramasamy sir, librarian of M.V. Muthaiya Government Arts College for Women, to deliver his lecture today. Sir, you're welcome. The platform is yours.
Madam, என்னோட PPT தெரியுதா madam?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Hello.
It is visible sir. It is
Okay.
visible sir.
My voice is okay madam?
Yes sir, it is okay sir.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes sir, go ahead sir.
Thank you madam.
Thank you sir.
The most respected and honorable principal of the college, the convener Muthuchelvi madam, co-convener Ramesh sir, and organizing secretary Ravichandran sir, my dear friend, and all other faculty members of Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College for Women, Madurai, and faculty members, research scholars, and students, those who represent various institutions across the country, a very, very pleasant, a joyful, and a colorful morning, each and every one of you. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this national webinar on free online tools for research. At the outset, let me take this opportunity to thank Ravichandran sir and Meenakshi College for having given me this wonderful opportunity of meeting you all in this online venture. Straight away, let me start my presentation. This is what we are all now. So it's an appeal to you to stay back, stay home, stay safe. Let me begin my presentation. As our principal madam rightly pointed out, research is nothing but the process of searching again and again. And it is a very systematic and a scientific method what you follow in order to either discover something or you're trying to invent something very new. So you take COVID case, we are trying to find out what is the DNA structure of this COVID-19 virus, how it gets adapted to various environments. That is a kind of a discovering things. Inventing, when there is no medicine for treating this particular pandemic disease, all over the world, we are trying to invent something new, a new medicine for curing this disease. So research can be either discovering something or it can be inventing something very new. Otherwise, it can be just applying new methods, new tools, new techniques to the very old concept which had been in practice for years together. Still long back, we used to organize seminars in a live mode, in a physical mode. Now we are conducting all such kind of seminars in web mode. So previously in libraries, we used to issue books manually. Now we are making use of all the computers, barcode system, RFID system to issue and return the books in the library. So either you are doing something very new or you are making use of new tools, new methods, new techniques for carrying out the old things in a better way, in an efficient way. So that's what all about research. So research can be anything, maybe as far as students concerned, maybe a class assignment being submitted can be research work. Or a PG student at the end of second year, he or she may be submitting a PG second year term project, that can be research. Or an MPhil scholar is submitting an MPhil dissertation. Or PhD scholar is submitting a PhD thesis. Maybe after PhD, if you are interested, you can go for a PDF, post-doctoral fellowship, that is a research. Or as a faculty member or as a research scholar, you are involved yourself in preparing journal articles, book chapters, books, or you are taking part in any minor or major projects. So all these things can be termed as research. Research is gaining momentum, especially in these days. When you talk about NAC accreditation, NARF ranking, and all kinds of world rankings have given a prominent role, a prominent score for research work being done in an institution. So we are all gearing up and undertaking a lot of research work. But if you see the history, maybe 20 years before, 10 years before, you have to ask the people, those who are doing research those time. So purely they were dependent on either institutional resources or human resources. So whatever help you need for carrying out your research, either you have to go knock the door of an institution or you have to go knock the door of human resources, the experts in the particular field. But thanks to ICT, thanks to www, thanks to Google, and thanks to Geo, we are all enjoying an unlimited access to the so-called online tools. So in my presentation, I would like to talk about the following tools, maybe something on alert services, file compression and file storage, file transfer, translation, grammar check, data collection, sample size calculation, statistical analysis, reference management, plagiarism check, and of course, the last one, journal selection. See, when you decide a topic, when you start working on your research area, you need to get updates on what kinds of researchers are being held in your chosen field of interest. What are the methods being adopted by the people? What are the findings? Where is a gap for my research work? So you need to update yourself. You need to keep yourself updated with the current happenings, the current findings on your chosen research field. So we have got a lot of online alert tools. Let me begin with the Google Scholar. Just go to Google, type Google Scholar. You'll get the home page. There, if you use your username and password, Gmail username and password, you can log in. Once you log in, left side, 3 rows are there. Click on alerts. Click on alerts. You'll get a screen like this. Your email ID, it says that you don't have any alerts because we have not created, we have not set any alerts so far. You click on create alert. Once you do that, you can give a keyword on which keyword you like to get yourself updated. Type the keyword, your email ID by default. You decide whether you want to see 10 results or 20 results. Then click on create alert. You see, this alert is created. So we have created one alert. Let me show you how to create one more alert. Click on create alert. Second topic, I just have information literacy. I'm doing a research on information literacy. So I would like to get latest updates from Google Scholar. So whenever a new article, new book chapter, a new book is added to Google Scholar on information literacy, automatically Google Scholar will send a mail to me stating that, see, one particular journal article on information literacy has been added to Google Scholar with a link. You just click it, you'll be directly taken to that particular article. Okay, so click on create alert. Now I have created 2 alerts. So this is how you can create any number of alerts in Google Scholar. Whenever a new arrival reaches Google Scholar, you will get an email ID. So one first service. And second one, please go to Google and type journal TOC. Journal TOC. TOC stands for table of contents. This is a service from United Kingdom where they are trying to provide you table of contents of around 36,000 journals. Okay. For example, they have scrutinized and they have included around 36,000 journals as a part of this service. And what you can do here is that you can come to this particular website, you can search, you can browse, and you can follow the journals. For example, even you can search for articles which are indexed in these 36,000 journals too. You can search for the journals based on the publisher, based on the subject, and if you register yourself as a normal free service eligible user, you will be able to follow 20 journals to the maximum. Okay, fine. This is a home page. Search button is here. Click on search button. You will land here and you can see here top publishers and newly added journals. If you come down, you will be able to see what are the very popular, most followed journals and what are the top subjects. All those things you'll be able to see. Fine. For example, I want to search for journals on a particular subject. What you can do is that in the search box, click journals and type the keyword. For example, I typed information literacy, click go, and you'll see that I got 4 journals. So 4 journals on information literacy are indexed and available in this journal TOCS service. Fine, there are 4 journals. Good. And same way, if I type information literacy and search for articles, I got around 869 articles. Even articles can be searched. Good. Now I like to find out how many journals are indexed by this particular service under various subjects. So click on subjects A to Z. So all the 73 subjects on which journals are indexed in this particular service will be enlisted. For example, in agriculture, 1000+ journals are there. Animal welfare, 123 journals are there. Archaeology, around 300 journals are there. Fine. Then you can even look for publisher-wise list of journals. You click on publishers A to Z. All the journals, 36,000 journals, as per the publishers will be listed. Good. For example, I tried for a particular subject called artificial intelligence, and I found out that 38 journals on artificial intelligence are indexed in this particular service. So now, for example, I select one journal called Artificial Intelligence Research. You check this box. Once you check this, you get a message. Journals you are following, Artificial Intelligence Research. So you are following one journal. In the sense, whenever a new issue is published, as far as this particular journal is concerned, immediately you will get a message in your mailbox stating that there is a new issue published from this particular journal. So that kind of alert message along with that table of contents you will get in your mail ID. Fine. And for example, I tried for one more keyword, machine language. I selected another journal called Journal of Machine Language Learning Research. You see now, journals you are following now 2. I am following 2 journals now. This way, if you click a particular journal, for example, I want to know what is the table of contents of one particular journal. You click the journal, what you are following. You can see the entire list of the table of contents of that particular journal. Fine. This way, you can create 20 journals. You can follow 20 journals. So whatever area, your prominent areas of research, you can find out. You can select the journals which are very, very relevant, which are more authoritative and authentic on those selected fields. And you can follow all the 20 journals so that whenever a new issue is published in any of these 20 journals, immediately you will get a message. Good. And can click on your name here, can sign out. This is the second service. And third service, there's something called RSS feed reader. See, RSS stands for Rich Site Summary or Really Simple Syndication. See, many websites these days are providing RSS feeds. Only thing what you need to do is that you have to copy that RSS feed URL, and that URL should be pasted as a part and parcel of your feed reader. So you should have a software called a feed reader. If you're having a feed reader, you can go and choose the P feeds and you can read all the feeds at once. Fine. So many feed readers are there. I would like to give a demo only one feed reader called feedreader.com. So you go to Google and type online feed reader. You'll get this particular website. You click this, you'll be landing here. So if you're already having an account, click login. Otherwise, click on create account using your Google or Facebook account. You can easily log into this feed reader, online feed reader. Good. Once you are entering it, and this is the home page of this particular online software, RSS feed reader. What this does is that, see, you have to select, you can select any number of feeds. Whatever feeds, RSS feeds you select, the latest updates from all RSS feeds, whatever you selected, will be appearing in the home page of this particular software. Fine. For example, see the left side, there is an option called add a new feed. An option is there. You click on add a new feed. Then you have to find out what are the feeds you want to incorporate into your software. For example, I just went to Google. I typed Dinamalar RSS feeds, and these are the feeds being freely given by Dinamalar paper. Whether you want first page, politics, general, current events, court news, Delhi news, international news, So they provide RSS for all these kinds of news items. So whatever you want, you click any one RSS feed, or once you do that, you will get this message and you have to copy this URL. So your URL is there. You have to copy this URL and then come back to your software, click on add new feed. This particular window appears. In the address box, you paste the URL. So whatever URL you copied from Dinamalar RSS feed for any kind of news, whatever you felt like, that particular URL should be pasted in the address bar. And just below this, there is an option for creating categories. That means you can create different categories of feed readers. You can create one folder, one category for news, one category for a journal article, one category for a book chapter you are working, one RSS feed folder for your classroom teaching. So all the related feeds can be stored in your folder. It's just like a folder. So I just clicked on create new, and you can give a name for your category. For example, I would like to have a feed category called a news item. So 3 or 4 newspapers, all my interested RSS feeds, I will collect, I will include in one folder called news items. Then click on OK. You can see here now, so news item, a new category is created. So what we have done is that I went to Google, typed Dinamalar RSS feed, I copied the URL, I came to feed reader, I clicked add new, I pasted the URL, I created a new category and selected it and say OK. So what happens? See, so once I selected an RSS feed, automatically all the events, information related to that particular feed will automatically display in your feed reader. So you need not go to Dinamalar every day to read whatever news you want on that particular issue, maybe on politics, on cinema. All the latest updated news will be available in your feed reader itself. Okay, let me try one more. Click on add a new feed. See, your option is there, expanded or collapsed. If you click on collapsed, one line news will be there. If you click this will be expanded. You can do full news. For example, I just gone to the Hindu RSS feed. I just went to Google and typed the Hindu RSS feed. Hindu provides maybe 30-40 RSS feeds. I selected international. You click on international, you'll get this particular site. Copy the URL. Once you copy the URL, then come back to your feed reader and paste it as I have already told you. You can see here now, all the important news from international news from the Hindu paper are displaying in your feed reader. Fine. This way, you can create any number of feeds. Fine. For example, I went to a blog, a website being maintained by a particular institution. I clicked on RSS feed being provided by that particular website. I copy the URL, the RSS feed of that particular website, and that is added here as a new feed. You can see here all the latest updates posted in that particular website will be available in your feed reader. So it can be a newspaper RSS feed, or it can be a website, or it can be even anything. For example, you just go to Google and type Oxford journals. You'll get all the journals. Okay, either journals A to Z or journals by subject. You select any one journal of your choice. For example, I have selected one journal, American Journal of Hypertension. You click on issues here and you'll see RSS feeds. Whether you want to get RSS feeds for the latest issue, or for the advanced articles, or for the open access articles, or editor choice articles. You can decide. For example, let me click on latest issue only. You'll get the URL or copy the URL. You go and create a new feed. Once you create a new feed, what happens here is that all the important articles which were indexed in that particular feed will be appearing here. And here there's an icon. If you click this particular icon, you will be directed to a website where the original article abstract level is available. So this way, you can create RSS feeds for newspapers, for journals, for websites. So you decide your field, your areas of interest, your area of learning. Accordingly, find out the RSS feeds and add all the RSS feeds in your feed reader so that you need not go and visit all those websites individually. All the latest information will be available in your feed reader itself. Fine, good. The left panel you can see, if you want, you can rename the fields. You can rename the feeds, no problem. And go to click on settings. You can manage all the categories and click log out. You'll be able to come out. So that's about creating alert service. I told you how you can create alert in Google Scholar, how you can create alert in maybe something like software like feedreader.com. Fine. And second one is online file compression, file transfer, file storage. See, as a researcher, you do a lot of research, you do a lot of review works, you go and visit a lot of resources, you download a lot of PDF files, HTML files. So these files, many numbers, sometimes you want to compress these files because these files may cause a heavy space, may need a lot of storage. What you can do is that you can compress, you can reduce the size of these files, and then you can keep it with you, or even you can share the compressed version of the files with your friends. Good. See, zip format is a very, very common format which we are all using for compressing a file or a selection of files. For example, if you're having 5 or 6 files, all the 6 files can be compressed into a single package called zip file. Good. And there is a very interesting online tool. The name of the tool is easyzip.com. Just go to Google and type this. You will get this particular screen. This is a home page of easyzip.com. And once you land here, what you can do is that 3 options are available: zip, unzip, and converter. You click on zip. They're asking choose files. You tell me what are all the files you want to convert into zip format. You click on choose files and select all the files. Whatever files you want to zip together into a single package, you select all the files, then click open. You can see here, I selected 3 files and then click zip files. Once you click this, see, save zip file. You click that and automatically all the 3 files will be zipped into a single folder, zip folder, and that is being downloaded. Once it is ready, it is available in my system. Good. And that way you can either zip the files or you can zip the folders. So both are permitted and possible in this particular software. Then comes unzip. So I have received a zip file. I have received a tar file. I have received a jar file. I have received a ISO file from my friends or from my researchers or from my students. I would like to unzip it so that I can read it. In that case, you can make use of the second option called unzip. Click on unzip and see, you have selected to zip a file. So click on choose file. I have a 1 zip file. Select the file. Click on open. You can see here and here. Click on extract. What happens here? All the files which are available in that zipped file, they're all now unzipped and they're available here. You can give a click on save. The file is saved. So this way you can either your normal files can be zipped, or if you're having a zip file, that can be unzipped using this particular software. Apart from that, there is a converter option available here. If you want to convert your zip file from one format to another format, maybe tar to zip or ISO to zip or raw to zip. So your friend says that, see, you are having a file in tar format. I don't have anything to read tar or zar files. You can kindly send the files in zip format. Your friend is asking, so what you can do is that you can convert from one zip format to another zip format. That is very much possible. For example, I want to convert one raw file to zip file. I just click that, choosing file. You have to choose the file. I am selecting a raw file. I want to convert this into a zip file. Okay, and say open. You will reach here. Click on convert. It will be converted. Fine. It's very simple. So that's about compressing and decompressing a particular file or a group of files. Once files are ready, you need to send the file to somebody. So normally what we do is that we go for Google, Gmail or Yahoo Mail to transfer files. Instead, there are some services, online file transfer services, which can be used for transferring huge files. Up to 2 GB of data can be sent at a time. You can send it absolutely no problem. Your email box will not be heavily loaded. There is no problem of less storage facility in your email boxes. You can make use of these kinds of free online file transfer platforms. For example, I would like to demonstrate one particular site called vtransfer.com. Please go to Google and type vtransfer. You will land here and click on I agree. There's an option is there. Click on I agree. And it's better you log in. Okay, you log in. If you're not having an account, you can go and create an account and submit. It's a very simple process. Now you are in your home. Now I am going to send some files to anybody for that matter. Come to the left portion. Here Three dots are there. I will tell you the use of these three dots bit later. Here, three options are there. You have to give the email ID to whom you are supposed to send the files, and your email ID and message. After typing these things, you have to click this one, whether you want to add your files or you want to send a folder. Fine. All the three things are to be filled in. For example, I typed the email ID. I want to send some files to this particular email ID, Dr. K. Ramasamy. This is my email ID, and this is a message. You click on add files and select all the files, whatever you want. Say open. Now, the file says that it is only 19 KB till you can send 2 GB of data. Okay, once you have added the file, once you have added the folder, you can click on transfer. It is getting transferred. Once the transfer is over, you'll get a message stating that your file is transferred. Then come to home. You can see a message. What is the name of the file you have sent to the particular person? You hover the mouse over here, you'll get something called a copy link. Okay, this copy link, you can click this copy link. The link is copied, and this is a copy. The link. This is the link what you have to send it to any particular individual or any number of persons. You send this particular link to the individual. You tell him that he has to paste this link in his browser. So what I do is that just to if I type the particular link in the browser, the particular individual who received your link will be getting this particular page where you can click on download, and you can download the entire page, no problem. Okay, and this particular link will be available for 7 days. Otherwise, the link will be expired. You can see a message. This is in my email box. It says that your files were sent successfully. What about the recipient message? You see in the recipient mailbox, it says ramasamy@gmail.com sent you files via WeTransfer. If they click that, they will get the link. They can click the link. They'll download the entire file. Fine. Otherwise, sir, I don't want to send any message via mail. I just want to give only one link. I don't want to send any message from my email ID. If it is so, you click on these three dots and click on get a link. So what happens is that once the file is transferred, you'll get a copy link option. Click this copy link. Okay, this is a link, and the link is to be, you can WhatsApp, you can message, you can email this particular link to any number of people, and all those people, just by typing this link in their browser, they'll be able to download the file, whatever you have sent. There's no need for using Gmail. Fine. Okay. Then comes jumpshare.com. This is a cloud storage where you can store files up to 2 GB data. You can go and sign up with Google. Your files, you can upload your folders, you can create links, and even you can create link for each and every file, or you can share this file. See, if you create a link, this link can be shared with anybody who will be able to download this particular file. Or if you click on share button, you can decide the email ID with whom you like to share this particular file, and whether this particular file can be downloaded or not, that you can decide. And even you can schedule. You can say that only by Monday 10 a.m. onwards, the file should become shareable. So that kind of scheduling is also possible. Fine, that's the second option. And third one, you can come out. And once again, one more cloud storage called dropbox.com. Even they provide you 2 GB of storage space. Just log into your account Dropbox. You can see all things. You can upload files. You can upload folder. And if you click all files, see, from 2007 or 8 onwards, I have been using Dropbox. Whatever files I have added, see, all the files are available in my Dropbox account. It has got nothing to do with Gmail and all. And if you click on share, it will show you all the files. Whatever files I have shared with my previous people, my previous cases, all the shared files are there. If you want to create any new shared folder, click on create shared folder. It is asking whether you want to create a new folder or you want to share the existing one. So click on I would like to share an existing folder. All the files, whatever is available in your Dropbox will appear. You select the files which you like to share and say okay. And you can decide whether you can permit the people to edit your content, or you are going to permit others to only to see the content. You can decide and say share. Once you share it, see, this particular shared pencil letter. So you are sharing. So whatever email address you are given, all those people will get a message, email message stating that Ramasamy is sharing this particular folder with you. They can click that, they can open the folder, and they can go to, they can edit, they can comment on that. Okay. This way, you can, the recipient, how he gets a message. That's about the online file transfer using WeTransfer, compressor using EasyZip, and online storage using Dropbox and Jumpshare. Fine. Then comes online translation. Many times the problems what we have is that in research, you take any field, especially science and technology, even social sciences, a good number of research output is available only in English language. And sometimes as a native speaker of Tamil or Malayalam or Telugu or Hindi, we may not be able to understand it exactly. So we need to translate the English version of the research paper into your mother tongue, in your language. How to do that? It's very simple. Just go to Google and enter your mail ID. You will get a 9 square box like this. Click that and select Google Translate. You land here. Fine. This is a home page. Select the language. English as your direct language, and Tamil is the language in which you want the translation. You select Tamil language. Fine. So input is going to be in English and output is going to be in Tamil. By default, text is selected. Even documents also can be selected. Let me select text first. It is a default selection. Once it is ready, you can go on to type or paste the content in English. Immediately, you will see the translation of that content in Tamil language or in any language, whatever you had chosen. Fine. And here, even voice input facility is also available. You just give a click on this mic, no? Okay, speak now. You can speak. Whatever you speak in English, that will be appearing here, and its equivalent translations will appear on the right side. Even that is permitted. You need not even write anything. You can straight away go to Google Translate. You can just like that, you can speak as you speak to me. As you keep on speaking, whatever you speak, all those words will appear in the left part of the screen, and its equivalent translation will come in the right side. Fine. Okay. And by clicking this red button again, you can turn off the voice input. Okay. And once you type, for example, I just typed to go. Google gives automatic suggestions, whether you want type good morning or good afternoon, and equal translation. It gives a lot of suggestions. It tells you how you can make use of the word go. What are the different ways you can use this particular word as a verb, as a noun. A lot of examples are there. Fine. And if you want to listen to what you type, just click on this particular speaker, and whatever is available here, computer will read it for you. You can just listen to it. Fine. Even that option is also available. If you want to copy this translation, here one rectangular box is there. Click it, copy translation, and you go to any place. You can just Control V, and translated content will be pasted over there. And here 3 dots are there. You click 3 dots. You can either suggest or edit. So you feel that the translation given by Google for this particular statement is not correct. What you can do is, as a regional language specialist, you can give your suggestions for this when that kind of suggestion is available. And if you want to share this translated content, can be shared with others either through mail or through Twitter. Even that is possible. Okay, for example, sir, I have one full text, maybe 10 pages or 20 pages. I want to translate the entire 20-page article. Even that is possible. You click on documents, and here you can upload DOC, DOCX, ODF, PDF, PPT, PPTX, PS, PostScript, RTF, rich text format, TXT, XLS, or XLS. All these file formats are supported by Google Translate. Click on browse your computer, okay, and you can choose any one file of your choice. Click open, and here the file has come. Click on translate. The entire file, maybe 10, 20, 30, 50 pages, entire file is converted, translated into Tamil language. Fine. So this can be saved by you, absolutely no problem. Fine. Right click, Control A to select the entire content. Right click, copy, and you can save it. Fine. Even history, if you click on history, whatever translations you did previously with the Google Translate, all the history will appear here. You can go and check also. And that is one way of translating English content into a regional language content. There is another very, very easy way. You can make use of Google Docs. Just go to Google, type Google Docs, enter your Gmail ID, you will land here. Okay. And you have to upload your file to Google Drive. Once the file is available in Google Drive, Then choose the file. I want to translate this particular file. I have selected this particular file. Double click, the file is open in Google Docs. Okay, it is online. Now, just to go to tools option, there's an option called a translate document. You click on translate document. It will ask you to choose a language. You select Tamil, for example. In the very next minute, the entire document is translated into Tamil language. Okay, fine. What you can do is that go to file, click download. You want to download this particular text as a docx file. You click it, the file is saved. So you can make use of Google Translate and Google Docs for the purpose of carrying out your translation work. Fine. Next one is the one thing which we are all afraid of is our language. So we are very rich in our thoughts, in our contents, in our ideas. But some of us, we have some problem in presenting your ideas because we are afraid that if I speak, if I write something wrongly in English, others may make a fun of me. So what you can do is that there are some options, online tools that may help you check the grammar of the text, what you have prepared for your research work. Fine. Yes. See how we can check the grammar portion of your research work. Please go to Google and type Ginger. Please remember Ginger free grammar check. Ginger is an online tool. This is a home page of Ginger. Ginger takes care of all kinds of grammatical problems, whether it is a subject verb agreement, it is a singular plural noun problem, or it is a consecutive noun problem, or a kind of misused words correction, or it is a kind of even contextual meaning correction. See, Ginger will automatically correct your words based on the context of your sentence. See, all these kinds of facilities are available. So what you can do is that before you start typing or pasting your content, you can choose a dialect, whether you want US English spelling or UK English spelling. Okay, you have to select dialect. Once you have selected your dialect, you can go and type. For example, I just typed, I want to kill you at once. I just typed something. Okay. And then you have to click on Ginger it. You click this particular option. It says that, no, there are two mistakes. One is I should be in capital. Want should not be used. You have to use want. So automatically two corrections are executed. And this way, don't worry about the language. Your content is very, very important. If you're having a rich content, you can make use of tools like Ginger to make corrections in your whatever content you have prepared already. Fine, good. For example, I just pasted a paragraph, okay, and I click on Ginger it. It gives you what are the places have should be changed as has. Here are should not be, is should be used. Explore instead explores. So it corrects the entire paragraph, absolutely no problem. So what I can do is that click on copy to clipboard and go to any word file anywhere and Control V, you can paste it. Fine, okay. And a very wonderful and a fantastic tool is available called Grammarly. So Grammarly is an online fantastic tool that will help you to take care of all kinds of corrections. Go to grammarly.com, you log in, create a username and log in here. Once you log in, click on continue to grammar free. So we are not going for any premium version. Let me be happy with the freely available Grammarly version. I click on continue to Grammarly free. You will land here. So for example, I typed a particular sentence. Once you typed it, it says there are two alerts. There are two mistakes, it says. Okay. So let me see what are the corrections. When I hover the cursor here, line up here, you click that, it says that first alert. What is the mistake? It says that the pronoun I should always be capitalized. See, it says you what is the correction, how you can correct. So by reading these kinds of suggestions, maybe if you're working with Grammarly for a period of 6 months, and you will automatically be able to get, oh, this is a mistake I should correct before I start checking the Grammarly. So that kind of knowledge you gain. Okay, fine. If you say click to change the capitalization, you click this particular I button, then can change here. Small I is changed into a capital I. Okay, now only one alert, one correction executed. And second alert, wants. Click this, it says, it appears that the subject pronoun I and the verb wants are not in agreement. When you use I, not wants, want should be used. So click on want, you can see here it is changed. Fine. So this way, it tells you what is the nature of mistake you have committed. Fine. And click on menu. 3 rows are here. Click on this menu button. If you want, you can upload a file. You can download a file. You can print a file. Okay. Let me click on upload file. Once I click on upload file, it is asking for the file. So I will select my file, any one file I like, the entire file. So for example, I prepared one article for a journal. So entire article I uploaded. It says there are 72 corrections as far as Grammarly is concerned. So you can go and check whether you need that correction or not. One by one, you can do that. So once you enter all the corrections, your article is error-free. Once it is error-free, what you can do is that go to this menu, click on download. You can download the corrected version of your research paper. Fine, so don't worry about the grammar and all. Then you can log out of this. And apart from that, one good news with the Grammarly is that Grammarly gives you a small add-on, browser, Chrome browser add-on. Just go to Google and type Grammarly for Chrome. You'll get this particular page. Click this, it will be installed. You can see here a green color button. See, if you have added this particular add-on in your browser, the beauty is that whenever you are working online, for example, I am trying to send a mail to Ravichandran sir. So when I'm typing this message, when I'm preparing my email, in the email, whatever corrections are there, I need not ask Grammarly. Grammarly will automatically suggest all the corrections when you are even working online. So even that kind of add-on also can be installed by you. Fine. Yes. And here there is something called rewritertools.com. For example, you have typed something, your teacher says that this is not up to the mark, you rewrite. Or you type something and you want to rewrite it in another style. You can come to this particular tool, rewritertools.com. You have to paste your content here, click on start, and you can see the right side how this particular content is rephrased. It is rewritten. Okay, your content can be rewritten in another style. You can make use of this particular tool. Fine. So now let's come to the very important portion of our topic called online data collection tool. In social sciences, the very important part of any social science research is collecting data. Nowadays, we have a lot of online tools, online survey tools that help us to collect data from the respondents who are from different parts of the country, different parts of this world, just by a click. Okay, I would like to give a small demo on Microsoft Forms. Everybody is familiar with the Google Forms. This is something about Microsoft Forms. Just go to Google and type Microsoft Forms. Don't ask me, sir, why are you showing Google Forms? Why are you not showing Google Forms? See, since everybody is aware of Google Forms, I purposely avoided Google Forms because I would like to show something which may not be known to you. That's why I have taken Microsoft Forms. Go to Google and type Microsoft Forms. You'll get the website forms.office.com. Click in sign in. You have to give your username, password, otherwise you can create one. This is a home page. Here two options are there. Whether you want to create a questionnaire or you want to create a quiz. Our purpose is I would like to collect the responses from the respondents, from the people. So I click new form. I have to type the title. My title is questionnaire on internet use pattern of PG students of Madurai city. A description. Okay. Once it's ready, you can click on add new to add different kind of questions. You click on add new, you'll get this screen. It supports basically 4 different kinds of questions: choice, text, rating, and date. If you click this downward arrow, it gives you another 3 sets of questions. So totally Microsoft Office Forms, they provide you 7 different types of questions for your questionnaire. Let me click on choice. Okay, you can type the question nativity, Tamil Nadu, other states. That means anyone. Okay, out of the options what you give, the respondent may select only one. That is called choice question. Okay, then here, once I type the question, 4 options are here. Copy question. If you click this, the same question will be copied. You'll get another question. And if you want to remove this question, click on this dustbin box and that will be removed. And thirdly, if you want to take this question down or if you want to take this question up, when you want to change the order of the questions, you can make use of this upward arrow and the downward arrow. Fine. And here, just below the question, there's an option required. If you click this particular question, it becomes darker. It means that this question is a must question. So unless otherwise this question is answered by the respondent will not be able to submit the form. It is a must, compulsory question required. Fine. And let me go for next question, a multiple choice question. Things you want to have for a breakfast: idli, dosa, pongal, chapati. That means one respondent can choose more than one. If you want the respondents to choose more than one option, you go for multiple answers. Okay. Now let me go to the top portion of the menu. There's an option called preview. Click on preview. You can see here. So Tamil Nadu, nativity, I was able to select only Tamil Nadu. For the second question, I was able to select more than one option because it is a multi-answer question. Fine, good. And third question is long answer. So you want the name of the institution. You want the respondent to type the long answer. What you can do is that you click on long answer, and here the respondent will be able to type the name of the institution with the address. Fine. And second is rating question. What is the rating question? You can ask the people, see how impressed you are with this particular program. You can give a star mark or a number, so they can decide whether they are giving 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 2 out of 5 for this particular program. The rating question can be included. Then comes date related question. So you want the date as the answer. When did you join this institution? When is the date of your superannuation? So when you want the answers in date form, you can go for this particular date question. Let me go to preview. I'll show you. See, name of the institution. The respondent can type the entire answer. Rating, he can select either 1 star or 2 stars. Here the respondent will select 3 stars. Date of birth, you got a calendar. From the calendar you can choose. Okay, these are the questions. Now, let me come to this particular downward arrow. You click it. It gives you some more options, some more types of questions to be displayed. First one is ranking question. For example, you give 3 answers. For example, Fanta, Coke, Miranda. You are asking the respondent to rank which is the first rank, which is the second rank, which is the third rank. So you ask the respondent to assign rank to each and every option. In that case, you can make use of this ranking question. Fine. See how it looks in the preview. In the preview, using this downward arrow and upward arrow, the participants can move the ranks up and down. So that kind of facility is also available. Then comes Likert scale, either 3-point scale or 5-point scale or 7-point scale, starting from very highly satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, highly dissatisfied. This kind of 5-point scale or 7-point scale or 3-point scale or even 9 or 11-point scales. If you want such kind of questions, you can choose Likert type of questions. Okay, I just typed how satisfied. It says that automatically it says, do you want to add this satisfied and all? Click add all. See, by automatically all the options are added. Now you can go and type the questions. But the question, organization of the event. So they will choose whether they are satisfied or not satisfied, less satisfied, content delivery, resource person. This way you can go and create questions. You click on preview. This is how it looks like when it reaches the respondent. The respondent can give only one answer for every question, whether very satisfied or somewhat satisfied or very dissatisfied. Fine, good. The last one, you can have a kind of a promoter scale. For example, you can ask a respondent to rank the services of a particular institution in the scale of 0 to 10. That is not at all to most likely 1 to 10, any scale they can choose. So that kind of question also can be included. Okay. Okay. Now question is ready. I have included all kinds of questions in my questionnaire. Now I want to have a background for my questionnaire. So click on theme. All the many themes are there. Either plain colors or pictures are available. You can go and choose any one background design you like. Then you can see the background has come. Okay, fine. And then once questions are ready, once background scheme is ready, now I have to send the question to my respondents. How to do that? Click on send button. You will get a link. Okay, here you can see 4 options are available. First option, copy link. You click it, the link will be copied. You can paste it anywhere. This link you have to mail it to all the respondents. If the respondents copy and paste or just click this particular link, they'll be able to answer the questionnaire. Fine. And second option, QR code. You can generate a QR code. Okay, just click on this particular second option, QR code. See, QR code is QR code for this particular questionnaire is generated by Microsoft Forms. What you can do is that you can download this QR code, and this QR code can be shared with your respondents. Just by scanning the QR code, your respondents will be able to answer the questions. Fine. And third one is Embed. See, you can get click on Embed and get the programming. This can be pasted in your library website or in your individual website or your institutional website, so that the people, those who are reaching your website, be able to answer the questions online. Fine. So we have sent a link to all the respondents. The respondent will type the link in the browser. He will get the questionnaire. He will answer all the questions. Then after answering all the questions, he'll click submit. He'll get a message. So his portion is over. As far as researcher is concerned, in my case, once you log in and come to Microsoft Forms, you can see here, there's an option called response. Click on response. So far, one particular respondent has given answer to the questions. You click on response, see one response, how many time, and all whatever answers is given. Even if 1,000 people has responded, you can get the analysis in a minute time. You can get it. If you want to copy the images, you can copy the image, no problem. For example, you're given the questionnaire, some 300 people responded. Now you want to download the response of all the 300 respondents in a single Excel sheet. What you can do is that click on this open an Excel button. See, Excel is ready. You can copy it. Then the Excel can be taken to any statistical software for conducting your analysis. Fine. And you can sign out. And this is how you can generate a Microsoft form. You can send to respondents. You can get the responses, and you can analyze the responses, and even you can download the entire response in the form of an Excel sheet. Okay, it's possible. Then comes sample size calculation and statistical analysis. See, in social sciences, in many cases, we are having a lot of problem in choosing exactly, sir, I don't know from how many people I have to collect data. Okay, is there any formula? Is there any rule for deciding upon from how many people I have to collect data for my research work? Fine. So there are some online calculators that will help you to exactly to know from how many samples you need to collect data. Fine. Okay. Let's go to, I just tell you two things. One is go to RAWSoft sample size calculator. Go to Google and type RAWSoft sample size. You land here. These are the four options. First one is margin of error. Whether you want 3%, 4%, 5%, you decide your margin of error. You decide your confidence interval that you want to get the results at 95% confident, whatever it may be. You can select your confidence level. Then you can type your population. If you type the population, then automatically your recommended sample size will appear here. Okay, good. Fine. So that's where you can create. For example, when I change my population size 10,000, automatically sample size also has changed. Now I want to know if my population is 1 lakh, what should be my sample size? Okay, it says you. Okay, here they also give a hint. If you're not sure about the population, you can keep the population size as 20,000. You type 20,000 is here and get the sample size. Whatever minimum recommended sample size you get for 20,000, that is applicable for any population. So this is how you can calculate sample size for your research work. Fine. And there's a formula they use for calculating this particular sample size. And second one is go to Google and type SurveyMonkey sample size calculator. You'll get a website called SurveyMonkey sample size calculator. You click on get started. Here you have typed the population size, confidence interval, and select your margin of error. Automatically tells you what should be the minimum recommended sample size for your research work. Okay, for example, I made 10,000. Accordingly, my sample size is differed. I have selected my confidence interval. I have changed it from 95 to 99. Again, you can see here, my recommended sample size is different here. I increase my population size to 1 lakh. You can see what is my sample size. And apart from this, a very, very simple way of finding out the sample sizes, just go to Google and type Grigis Morgan samples size table. Just type this, you'll get one table. This one table is sufficient. This will tell you what is the minimum recommended sample size required for your research work. See, N is the number of population. S is the sample size. That means if your population is 800, sample should be 260 minimum. If your population is 10,000, sample should be 370 minimum. If your population is 15,000, sample size should be 375 minimum. So this is a very, very one-page single table that helps you to find out what is the minimum recommended sample size for your research work. Fine. And what about the analysis? So I have given the questionnaire. I collected the data from them. Now I want to analyze the data. How to analyze data? I need some statistical softwares. On online, we have very beautiful statistical calculator by name SOCSCI statistics.com, social science statistics.com. Just go to Google and type SOCSCI statistics. You will get the website. This is a website. Fine. You click on descriptive statistics. All kinds of descriptive statistics will appear. For example, I want to calculate mean, median, mode for my data. So click on mean, median, mode calculator. Okay, you can click on this. First, you'll get an explanation. Okay, what is the mean, what is median, what is mode? They give an explanation. Then they will ask you to select a data type. Whether you want to calculate mean, median, mode for nominal data, ordinal data, or interval data. First, you have to select the data type. I selected interval because I got some numbers. Then in the box, you type the numbers. After typing numbers, you click on calculate. You'll get the results. It's very simple. Fine. For example, I go to descriptive statistics. I selected bar chart creator. One table appears. You type. For example, I typed male, female, third gender, 50 male, 29 female, 4 third gender. So I just typed the content. Click on create bar chart. See, bar chart is ready in 2 minutes. If you want to edit anything, please come down. You can make some corrections. So you can, if you want, you can have the letters in big size. If you want to name the x-axis as gender, y-axis as count, you can change the x-axis and y-axis titles. If you want to have a title for your graph, you can give a title. If you want to display bar value, you can click it. Then you click create new bar chart. You can see here, things are changed. Title is added. X-axis and y-axis titles are given. And values are shown here. So this way, you can go and create a bar chart in a couple of minutes. Then comes calculator. Sir, if you are interested in doing something like, say I want to conduct independent sample t-test or Mann-Whitney or one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis or correlation or linear regression or Spearman. So if you want to calculate these kinds of inferential statistical tools, you click on calculators. Can you see? See, these many inferential statistical tools are available in this particular single website. Okay. For example, I want to give a demo on how to calculate chi-square. You click on calculators, choose chi-square 2 into 2. This box appears. You have to name it. I typed here male, female, whether you want, whether you like ice cream or you don't like ice cream. So I want to check whether is there any significant association between gender of the respondents and whether they like or they don't like ice cream. I want to check this. Okay. And this particular labels appeared. You have to type the data. So based on the questionnaire data, you have to feed the data here. After feed the data, you click on next. Once you click on next, you have to decide upon the significant level, whether you want 0.01, 0.05 or 0.1 level of significance. Normally in social sciences, we have 0.05 level of significance. You click on 0.05. Once it is selected, click on calculate chi-square. Okay, you see here, the result has come. Okay, fine. Significance value, p-value, chi-square value, all these things are available. Good. See, many people, see, they will calculate the results, but they don't know how to write the result. Okay, this particular online tool even helps you to write how to write the result. You click on how to report a chi-square result. Click that. It tells you what is the format in which chi-square result is to be reported. This is a wonderful tool. Kindly make use of it. And even you can find out which statistical test. So for example, sir, I have some data. I don't know which statistical tool I need to apply. If you're confused, if you don't know, if you're not able to decide, please come to this particular website, click on which statistic test and give some items. For example, what kind of data you're having, select. Then whether you want to study the relationship or differences, select. Whether you are comparing a single sample or you're having more than one sample, select. Whether it is independent measure or repeated measure, you decide. Whether you are having 2 samples or you are having more than 2 samples, select. If you are giving all these information, the software, online software tells you the most suitable tool for your data is t-test. Okay. The data is not normally you have to go for man whitening. So that kind of analysis also is available in this particular software. Fine. Good. Now, let us go to the very important part. See, you went to various resources, you collected the data, now you're having the resources. You are making use of all the collected resources in your research work. Maybe in the introduction part, or in the review section, or in the discussion section. You are making use of others' content, one definition from others, 1 or 2 review from others. You have borrowed the ideas of others and you have included in your research paper. So whenever you are using others' content, others' material, others' methods, others' findings into your research work, you have to acknowledge. You have to acknowledge, or you have to thank them. How to thank them? You have to thank them very formally. So the formal method of acknowledging the use of others' content is reference. You have to create a proper reference and you have to acknowledge and thank the people from whom you have borrowed the ideas. Okay, how to create the reference? So references are to be created in a well-defined style manual, something like APA, American Psychological Association, or MLA, Modern Language Association, or Chicago, Throbian, IEEE, Nature. We have got, you will not believe, we have got more than 9,000 style manuals. So according to the requirement of a university or your guide or your journal, you have to prepare the references in that particular style. Okay, is it possible for a researcher to remember all these styles, to learn all the styles? It is impossible. So you can make use of these kinds of online tools to create both citation and the reference for your research works. Fine. So please come to Google. I would like to give a demo on one particular online tool that will help you to create the reference for your research paper. Go to Google and type ZBib. You get a website, Zotero Bib. Okay, this is a home page. And here, see, you can type URL or ISBN or DOI, Digital Object Identifier, PubMed ID, Archive ID, or title. If you know any one of these things, you can type here and the reference will be automatically generated. Okay, for example, I have got this book, ISBN number. I want to create reference for this particular book. Just type the ISBN number and click cite. See, you need not do anything. Zotero will automatically go to online. It will search for the ISBN book. It will bring all the particulars and it will create the reference. Fine. And in which style reference is there? In the MLA style, Modern Language Association 8th edition style. Suppose the same book, you want to create the reference in APA style or in some other style. What you can do is that you have to click on this arrow, this downward arrow, no? You have to click that. Once you click, all the styles will be listed. You can select any one style in which you want to have the reference. If the style what you are looking for is not available here, you click on 9,700 plus other styles available. You click on that, all the 9,700 styles will be available. You can type the keyword to find out what is the style. For example, being a science faculty, you want to send a journal to a IEEE journal. So naturally, they will ask you to prepare all the references in IEEE model. So just go and type IEEE. All the IEEE related models will appear. You can select any one style that you need for your research work. Okay. And here, once you are selected here, copy citation, just give a click on this rectangular box, copy citation. It is asking whether it is a book. Yes, it is a book. It says that this is how you have to prepare the in-text citation. Maybe when you are preparing your research paper, in the introduction part, in the review section, or the discussion section, you need to write the in-text citation this way. The author's name without spelling and the year of publication. Okay, good. Now, if you want to delete this, you can delete this entry, no problem. And if you want to copy this, if you want to export the reference, you can click on copy to clipboard. Or if you want to copy this to any one of these formats, you can copy it, no problem. Fine. For example, I click on copy to clipboard. It is copied. So you can go to anywhere, you can paste it. I just press Ctrl V. The reference for that particular book is available here. So this way you can copy it. Fine. And secondly, I told you how you can create an automatic reference using a ISBN number of a book. Now, if you are knowing the DOI, Digital Object Identifier of a particular journal article, you can type here and it will automatically fetch all the information about that particular journal article. You need not do anything. So now two. One is a book, one is a journal article. And thirdly, if you're having a PubMed ID, so PubMed is a database from National Library of Medicine where you'll get all the related materials on biology, biochemistry, biotechnology, medicine, nursing and all. If you're having a article ID, PubMed ID, you can just type PubMed ID here and you can see here the entire thing is available here. Even if you want to edit this also, you can edit. For example, click on edit. All the particulars about that article appears. I want to change the date from 97 to 99. I changed it. Okay. You can see here now it is automatically changed here. So not only automatically you bring all the particulars, even if you want to edit also, you can edit, no problem. Now 3 are there. Now Archive ID. See, Archive is a very popular preprints online database. If you're having an archive ID for any research paper or a book, you can type or paste the archive ID and click cite. You can see here, it is automatically brought. Now I got 4 results. And apart from that, if you have taken content from any website, you just type the URL of that particular website. Now the software will automatically generate reference for that particular website. Okay. All the 5 are there. Fine. So this way, you just give a click on copy to clipboard, go to Word, Ctrl V, all the references will be automatically pasted in any place of your choice. So this way, you can automatically generate references for any kind of items. Okay. If you want to create a link, just click on this create option, click copy URL, you will get one URL. So this URL, you can send to your friend or your research supervisor or a guide, you can send to this. Those who are receiving this particular URL, they will paste this URL in their browser and they will get this particular page. They can go through, they can make comments, they can edit, they can suggest you. So that kind of linking is also very much possible in ZBib. Fine. And for example, you're having a textbook, okay, which may not be available online. In that case, you have to manually prepare reference for that particular source. Okay, click on manual entry. You can choose whether you want to prepare a reference for a book or a blog post or a book section, computer program. We've got more than 30-40 kinds of document types are there. You can choose any one type and you can enter the particulars. Okay, for example, I am preparing a reference for a particular journal which is not available online. After typing all the necessary particulars, you can click on done option. You can see here, it has come here. So this way, even manually also you can go and add the references. That is also very much possible. Fine. Then comes Google Scholar. Just go to Google Scholar and type COVID-19. I tried for COVID-19. You get the results. Once you get the results, under every result, you can see a double quote mark. So click on double quote mark. Google Scholar by default, it gives you references in 5 styles: MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, and Vancouver. In all the 5 styles, the references are available. You can copy, you can paste. It's very, very simple from Google Scholar. Or you please visit this particular site called sitefast.com. For example, you want to create a reference for a particular journal article. Come to this particular site, click on journal, type the keyword, all the available journal articles will be listed. If the journal article what you are looking for is available, just click it, automatically the reference will be created here. It's no problem. Otherwise, even you can create reference for all these kinds of things, for a film, conference, television, magazine, web page, online video. For all these things, you can create reference online free of cost. Otherwise also, as we have done in ZBib, here also click on manual, you can go and type all the particulars and the reference will be automatically created. Fine. So that's about reference management. And another most 2 important things I will talk about. One is plagiarism checker. Nowadays, we talk a lot of things about plagiarism. See, plagiarism is nothing but taking the content from others and using them in your research paper as if they are all your own, without citing them properly or without citing them at all, you are going to use that content, borrowed content, as if they're all your own content. That is what plagiarism is all about. Okay, so though it is advisable to check plagiarism for your research papers in universities with authorized softwares like Authenticate or Turnitin or Workun, there are very minimum possible online softwares are available. Even they will help you to check the plagiarism for your content. I would like to show one or two. Please come to paperwriter.com. It's a very simple website. Okay, you can come and paste your test here. So you want to test the plagiarism for a particular content. You copy the content and paste in this box. Then click get report. Then it is being processed. You'll get the result, 100% original. So that kind of message you get. Okay, but a very interesting tool which you can use for plagiarism check is smallseotools.com. Please go to Google and type smallseotools.com. You will land in this home page. Here you can paste the content up to 1,000 words. At a time you can check the plagiarism of 1,000 words only, not more than 1,000 words. Okay, you paste the 1,000 words, less than 1,000 words, and then we click on check plagiarism. After pasting a content which is less than 1,000 words, click on check plagiarism. It says that this particular content what you have copied here has got 50% plagiarism and 50% it is unique. Okay, so you want to check what are the sentences where I committed some kind of plagiarism. Okay, see here it gives you, click on sentence wise result. It tells you every sentence and tells you these two sentences are unique. These two sentences you copied from others. Okay, so what you can do is that, no problem, you can click this particular option. Which option? Rewrite plagiarized content. Click on this particular rewrite option. What it does is that once you ask the small SEO tools to rewrite it, wherever the content is showing plagiarism, the software will replace all the copied content into some other synonym words, equivalent words, and it gives you the rewritten content. Okay, now the software itself has rewritten the content. Now you click check plagiarism, you can see 100% unique because the software has converted all the synonyms. Fine. Now the content is plagiarism free. Okay, so I told you 2 lines are having some problem. If you give a click on compare option, this will take you directly to the web page from where you copied the content. Okay, that kind of tracking is also possible here. If you want to download the report, click on download report. So in a PDF form, you'll get the report. What is the percentage of plagiarism, percentage of uniqueness, and what are the how many sentences are plagiarized, and what are the sources. It even tells you the source from where you copied things. Fine. And if you want to check the entire file, you're having a file, a file that has got 1,000 less than 1,000 words. You can upload. The entire file will be uploaded. Once the file is uploaded, you can click check plagiarism. If the file is having less than 1,000 words, you check for plagiarism and give the report to you. Fine. Yes. Then comes the duplicate checker. Whatever you are able to do in small SEO tools, same things can be done in duplicate checker also. But here also the limitation is 1,000 words. Fine. Yes. So let me come to the last portion of this presentation. Journal selection. One problem researcher is that I don't know, maybe after preparing a journal article, I am not able to find out what are the opt journals, appropriate journals, which are available for publishing my research paper. So there are some tools that will help you. There are some tools that will help you to find out what are the journals which are suitable for my article. Fine. What are they? Many private publishers, they are providing this particular service. So this from Elsevier, journalfinder.elsevier is a beautiful site. You come to this site and paste your title or type your title, paste your abstract and click the field. What is a field your article belongs to? You select the field and click on find journal. Elsevier will give you list of probably appropriate journals for your research paper. This is one option. And secondly, from Springer, we get another service called journalsuggester.com. You go to Journal Suggester. Here also, you have to type the title, you have to type the manuscript abstract, and click the subject area, and then click Suggest Journals, and automatically Springer will suggest you these are the possible journals in which you may try to publish your paper. So that kind of suggestions you will get. Fine. Then you go to journalfinder.wiley.com. This from Wiley Publishers. Here also you have to type or paste the title of your research paper, the abstract, then click on find. You can find all the possible journals. And this is a private service, jane.biosemantics.org, journal author name estimator. In this box, you have to paste the title and abstract of your journal. Once you have pasted it, click on find journals. You can see here lot of suggestions. Fine. And there's another private site called journalguide.com. You come to journalguide.com. Here you have to type or paste the title. Here you paste the abstract. You click on search button. They say there are 10 journals which are matching with your keywords and title. And even here option is also available. For example, I want to get only open access journals. I want to get only journals with the SNP ranking, such kind of things. Okay, even you can filter and you can exactly find out the appropriate journals for your research publication. And this from IEEE Publication Recommender. Just go to Google and type Publication Recommender IEE.org. You will land here. Select whether you want only the periodicals or conference or both. Type the keywords, paste the abstract, okay, and click Get Recommendation. It tells you these are the appropriate journals for publishing your research paper. Even that is also possible. Fine. And then last but one, Web of Science Master Journalist. So you know Web of Science, a product of Clarivate Analytics, where they provide access to indexing and abstracting and bibliographic service to around 25,000 impact factor journals. Okay, just go to Google and type Web of Science MJL, Master Journal List. You land here, click on Match Manuscript, okay, and they will ask you to create an account. Okay, click on Create Account, create on username and password, all those things and all, and you are here. Welcome, Ramasamy K. Again, type or paste your title and abstract and click, and they recommend you these are the appropriate journals available in Web of Science for publishing your research paper. Okay, even they can show you this is a match score 0.99. This is a 99%. This journal is more appropriate to your research paper. You can publish here. And apart from that, you can make use of these refining options. For example, you can say, I want to get journals of only India. You can select only India. You see what is the result? I got only one result. Okay, only one journal from India, which is indexed in Web of Science. That is more appropriate for publishing the research paper that I have in my hand now. Fine. That kind of refining. Or you can say that I want to get only those journals which are included in Science Citation Index, not in social science, not in arts and humanities. I want only Science Citation Index. You can select. Okay. Otherwise, you can go on search journals also. Click on search journals. You can go and type the keyword. Okay. You can find out all the journals which are relevant to that particular keyword. Even that is possible. And just like Web of Science, even Scopus provides you a possibility for finding out the right source for you. Just go to Google, type Scopus preview. It is free. It is free. Okay. Click on sources. Choose a subject area. For example, I have selected subject area. I click cell biology. So for example, I want to know what are the topmost journals in cell biology wherein I can publish my paper, because I have a paper written on cell biology. You click cell biology. I got around 383 results on cell biology. Okay. All the 383 journals are listed. For example, I just clicked one particular journal called Cell Metabolism. You can see here, it says whether the journal is covered till date or not. Yes, it is covered till present day. What is height score? What is the AJ score? SciMago journal ranking score. So you can judge the quality of a particular journal by looking at all these criteria. Then comes, what is the position of this particular journal all the journals in the field of biochemistry. So in this particular category, this journal is the first rank holder. And in this category, this journal is the third rank holder. So you can judge the quality of the journal and you can take a decision on which journal I am going to publish my paper. Fine. So dear friends, so far we have been discussing about a good number of online tools, starting from online file compression, online storage, grammar check, online translation, and online reference management, and all these online selection tools. So we discuss about a good number of tools. Of course, this is not a limit of tools. We have got good number of tools. Just for the sake of this particular session, I have confined myself only to these set of select tools which I have been using for my research purpose. So dear participants, what is very important, we have thousands and thousands of online tools available that will help us to conduct our research work in a much more meaningful manner, in a much more effective manner. We need not spend our time on all critical jobs. Instead, we can concentrate more on the quality of our research work. So what is required now? First of all, you should know the tools. So you should know what are the various tools available. Only when you know the tools, you can use the tools. If you don't know the tools, you may be using it. If you know that such and such tool is available for translation, you may try to use it. So first know the tools and make use of the tools which are known to you and try to explore new tools. For example, on online translation, I told you just 2 tools. You can go and explore what are the many other online translation tools available. You can go and always explore new tools. Not only that, know the tools, use the tools, explore the new tools, and kindly share the tools. Maybe with your friends, maybe with your peer groups, maybe with your students. You kindly share the information about the availability and the usability of all these freely available online tools. Once it is done, I am sure we would be able to create a very, very efficient and effective academic research world in the days to come. So thank you so much. I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for having given me this wonderful opportunity of presenting my ideas on free online tools for research. Over to the organizers. See whatever questions the participants would like to ask. You may proceed, madam, please.
So thank you so much, sir.
Yes, madam.
I think everyone was glued to the computer screen or phone screen and were listening very enthusiastically. It was very informative, very invigorating, and very useful to all of us, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Participants, you can post your questions or your queries, your doubts in the chat box.
May I check the chat box, madam, or you will read the question and ask, madam?
Sir, I'll tell you one question from Mr. Ravi.
Yes, madam.
His question is, he has checked online tools plagiarism. The similarity is 20%, but the Urkund plagiarism shows a similarity same percentage. So that's his question, sir.
So as I told you in my even presentation, as far as other tools are concerned, no problem, you can boldly use it. But as far as plagiarism is concerned, I would suggest you, if you are preparing a typical research paper, or if you are doing your PhD or PDF research work, my humble suggestion is not to depend on the freely available plagiarism tools. Kindly approach your university and kindly check for plagiarism with the government authorized softwares like Authenticate or Turnitin or Urkund. That is final. See, for example, you try and check your plagiarism in a local online software. It shows 23%. When you go to university for final checkup, or you are going to a journal for a final checkup of plagiarism, it may show 100%. So be very, very careful when you are dealing with freely available online plagiarism checkers. Okay, because their coverage is normally very, very less. If you take Urkund, if you take Turnitin, they cover millions and millions of subscribed and open access databases. These online plagiarism checkers, they cover only a very limited number of sources, and the authenticity of these plagiarism checkers are always a questionable thing. So as far as plagiarism checker is concerned, I would humbly request you to go to university and make use of the softwares available over there, please. Next, madam.
The next question is, being a new research scholar, this is from Jiva Senguptavel. He is asking, being a new research scholar, how many unique research IDs I need to create?
See, as far as unique research ID means, even if you're having 2 or 3 Gmail IDs, more than sufficient. See, if you're having 2 or 3 Gmail ID with one Facebook account, is more than sufficient. You can go whatever tools I told you. I just used only 2 of my Gmail IDs. Only with just the help of 2 Gmail IDs, I was able to get into all these online tools and make use of all these services. Absolutely no problem. Because most of the online tools, they support login either with the Google or with Facebook. Only very few online softwares will ask you to enter your username separately. Okay, even if you're having 2 or 3, that's more than sufficient. Next, madam.
The next question is, this is from Keshav Kumar. Do we have any tools which would suggest the research subject uniqueness?
It is not a matter of research subject uniqueness. See, if you are doing a research on a particular field, maybe biology, okay, before you decide, you choose a topic, you have to conduct a comprehensive review of literature, first point. Once you have done a comprehensive review of literature in major databases like Web of Science or Scopus or even the open access resources, then you please either go to Shodh Gangotri and Shodh Ganga and look for the available of similar thesis, the thesis which are already submitted by previous researchers on biology. So if you go and check all these resources, you will come to understand that the topic what you are going to work upon, whether it is already done by somebody or it is not done by somebody, whether there is a research gap available or not, that you can check, madam. Next, please.
So the next question is from Sharmila madam. She is asking, once we upload content in online sites, will it be stored there and cause self-plagiarism?
See, it all depends on what kind of tool you are making use of it. For example, I have come across a case in Sivagasi. One madam, my friend, she was doing PhD in mathematics. What she did was, see, she prepared 6 chapters for a research paper, and all the 6 chapters she published as 6 research papers. Okay. After publishing all the 6 papers in reputed journals, because they are all unique research, original research, she submitted a research work. When she went to the university and checked for plagiarism, it shows around 85-90% plagiarism. She was shocked because she was telling that I have not done any copying work. I have done the entire work on my own. I did the things on my own. When the things are proved, it was found that so her own articles, which were deposited into leading journals, available online, were shown as self-plagiarism. So what happened? She went to the university and she proved that it was her own journals which shows as plagiarism. She got the kind of a certificate from a research guide and she gave a self-declaration. Based on these things, the university accepted her thesis. So be very, very careful, especially when you are working with your PhD data. Before you submit your research paper, if you publish your paper on online journals, that will be shown as self-plagiarism. But maybe you may have to talk to your university. You may ask them to exclude those particular research papers stating that they are my own. Or if they're not accepting, then you have to produce certificates stating that they are my own papers. So these things can be removed from the plagiarism. So that kind of things can be done, madam. Next, madam.
The next question is from Joshua Manohar. They're asking, can you say the benefits of publishing research works, the Scopus and UGC, CAR journals, and the benefits? They're asking for the benefits of.
It's very simple, very simple, very simple. See, when you are publishing a research paper, either in Scopus or in Web of Science or UGC CAR listed journals, one is a prestige. Okay, one is a prestige. You can say that I published 4 papers in Scopus, 4 papers in Web of Science, one thing. Secondly, when you are publishing your papers in these databases, so these databases have only those journals which are having high impact factor. The journals which are cited, which are used more by the researchers belonging to that particular research community. So these are the most highly used journals. See, when you are publishing your paper in a highly used journal, then you also will get a lot of citations. Your citation score also will improve. You will be recognized by others. The research visibility for your research paper will be much, much higher than what you can do with a normal, a local journal. Fine. Yes, madam. Next question, madam.
The next question is, this is from Dr. Devika. She is asking, sir, you have told a plagiarism tool which can automatically rewrite our text, but will it not harm if my paper was checked by our university tool? Will it show 100% similarities?
No, it's not like that. See, for example, actually reverse takes place. See, reverse to the question asked by the respondent, we do a different thing. For example, you go to plagiarism check, you go to university to check for plagiarism. They will give a report stating that you are having 20% plagiarism. We are accepting only 10% plagiarism. Your paper, your researcher is having 20% plagiarism. Kindly take it back, make required corrections, bring it back. See, in that case, what people do is that after getting it checked by university, they will take the content to such a kind of rephrasing tools. Wherever there is a plagiarism, they will copy and paste the plagiarism. They will get the rewritten, rephrased edition, and they will copy it so that the plagiarism level will be reduced. But one thing is that even though a machine will help you to rephrase it or rewrite it, I'm sure 30 to 40% that will not be correct, because machine may not be knowing the contextual meaning of the sentences. Maybe you can make use of such tools. After getting the result from such tools, you have to sit and carefully read, and you have to understand whether it is the same thing what you want to intend to communicate. So even though machine checks, you have to have a final check before you submit for your university, madam. Next, madam. Madam, next question.
I think you have answered almost all the questions, sir.
Yes, madam.
Thank you so much, sir. You have
Thank you, madam. Thank you so
answered
much.
all the questions. It was wonderful. Your presentation was very wonderful, sir. I
Thank
think
you, ma'am. Thank
participants
you.
have learned a lot from you today. There's a small statistics that we would like to share with all our participants today.
Madam,
So there's a small statistic that we are going to share with the participants today. So we are very happy to inform you all that 751 participants had registered for this national webinar, and amongst the 751 participants, almost 350 participants were librarians from across the country and from different other countries also. So among these 751 participants who had registered, almost 350 participants have actively participated in our webinar today, sir. It is a great achievement, I think. Almost 350 participants have participated very actively today in this particular webinar, sir. All the credit goes to you, sir, Ramasamy, sir.
thank you, madam. And I could see some requests from participants for the PPT.
Yes, sir.
Dear participants, already I have shared my PPT with the organizers, and the organizers will do the needful. They will send the presentation to all the registered email IDs. That thing they will take care of.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir. We will share. Everyone have our mobile numbers, and they also have our email IDs. So you can actually send your request personally to us. We will post the PPT to them, or we'll mail the PPTs to them, sir.
Video also available in our channel also, every time, permanent.
Okay, sir. It is actually there in our YouTube live relay also. You can go through that also. You can get the PPT from there also, sir. All the participants, you can get the PPT from our YouTube live channel relay also. Or otherwise, you can mail us. We will send reply for the PPTs and the videos also. Last but not the least, I now request Dr. Ramesh sir, our Physical Education Director, to propose the vote of thanks. He is also the co-convener of this national webinar today. So I request Dr. Ramesh sir to give away the vote of thanks. Ramesh sir.
Ma'am, sir, unmute பண்ணுங்க sir இப்போ.
Good afternoon, one and all. Sir, audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon,
Audible.
one and all.
Ah.
At the outset, I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. S. Vanadi Madam, for encouraging and supporting us for the smooth conduct of the national webinar. Thank you, ma'am. We wholeheartedly thank our resource persons, Dr. K. Ramasamy, librarian of M.E. Muthaya Government Arts College for Women, Dindigul, for the exemplary explanation of various online tools available for the research. Moreover, he explained and showed all the tools in such a way that even a layman would not find it difficult to understand. And the tools which he sorted from the initial tools, Google Scholar Alert. In the first tool itself, he alerted every participants and the scholars and everybody. And finally, he said that every participant should know the online tools of various tools and use the tools, then explore more, find more tools, and also you have to share the tools, the words told by our resource person, Dr. K. Ramasamy. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Last but not least, I convey my thanks to all the participants for your valuable participation and in this learning platform. The sea of knowledge that has flowed us, enriched us all today. I once again thank everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Ramesh sir, for the vote of thanks. I thank all the participants for participating in our national webinar. I think none of us saw a resource person today, so finally we'd like to see our resource person face before ending this webinar. Kindly show Ramasamy sir to everyone.